about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of the big hot topics today is how Brad Pitt possibly pooped himself on set. Now, I heard about this a while back. And, Brad Pitt, one of my favorite actors. I love him. I think he's great. Don't know much about his personal life and why his kids won't talk to him. But I love his acting. I love his movies. I can't wait to see F1. But, hearing how he had an episode that had to clear the filming crew that could have pertained to his bowels and gas made me think that maybe I need to revisit with you all the shart and how to prevent doing that. Because that could be pretty embarrassing, especially if you don't have an extra pair of clothes. So I think I heard about a year or two ago that he was on the radio talking about this. And then now we're being told that I think on another podcast, he talked about how one of the movie sets had to be shut down because of a accident. He was on, I guess, the Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey podcast, their New Heights podcast. And apparently on set, he was supposed to eat a huge plate of beans and bacon because his character in this particular movie had not eaten for several days. There was a small cafe, 60 people were on the set, and he said, quote, nature took its course, and the crew had to be swiftly evacuated. He said Pitt opted to go method acting and actually ate the food that was laid out in front of him instead of pretending. So he ate beans and bacon. He said, I powered down this plate of beans, then take 2, do the same thing, take 3, I do the same thing, take 4, I do the same thing, and then something hit him. He said, there was nothing I could do. I was stuck in this chair. Nature took its course. And so he couldn't just get up and go. The entire crew had to leave. It was pretty stinky. Now, this happens, he said, and then suddenly the entire crew, the most diabolical something to send it on the crew in the whole room, and they fled the cafe. He said, ever since then, I pace myself. So really, I think he's cool to be able to talk about this. But, one thing that happens to a lot of people is the shart. Now, the shart is a combination of 2 words. One I can't say on air, but it's basically a gas, a passive gas fart with pooping at the same time. Hence, a combination of the word. I think Along Came Polly was the movie that made it famous. And these are things that, here we are in medicine telling people, make sure you get the gas out. Now, a lot of you have irritable bowel, you have bowel issues, you have bloating because you keep the gas in, you need to go outside or go to your car or whatever and get the air out. Well, some people will take that to a level where every time they feel it coming, they're just going to let it go. But what if there's going to be an extra package with it? And that could be, it's one thing to just clear a room or clear an elevator. It's another thing when you messed up your clothes. But there's warnings. A shart is very predictable, with the exception of if you have a full-blown explosive diarrhea, bacteria or viral infection or whatever, where you just can't hold your stool, or if you have a spinal cord injury, there's elements that there's medical issues that could cause stool incontinence. But if you are actively deciding to pass gas and then you accidentally bring a package with it, carry a package with it, that's something that you probably want to prevent. So, one, if you're noticing you're doing that a lot, please get yourself checked out. But it's predictable. So usually you get a warning fart prior. So let's say you've been passing gas. Or you pass. So usually you will be warned. It won't happen the first time of that episode. So if you notice you have to pass gas pretty close in proximity to the first fart, there's a chance something's coming with it. Now, some people say, but I could tell why I'm feeling the pressure. Are you feeling the pressure from air, or are you feeling the pressure because there's stool? thing is if the stool isn't very formed and very heavy, sometimes you can't tell the difference if it's liquid. It could feel the same. So if you have a warning shot and then all of a sudden you feel like, wait, I have to do this again, that you might want to run to the bathroom and not be in the elevator or sitting at your seat. Also, the prior fart, and I'm sorry if any of you guys are eating, is usually small. And you might get a warning that you have to potty soon. So if it's not just air where, you felt like you could kind of blow a sunflower petals off, if you feel like, you know what, there wasn't a lot of volume to that. I felt like it was more dense, shall we say, that is a sign that your next one could possibly be poop. Okay. Also, the smell. So if your lighter air with more volume and lesser density, is of 1 scent, and then you pass something that wasn't really a lot of air, but boy, did it pack some pungency, there's a chance that then your follow-through stool is going to be, or your follow-through fart is going to have stool in it. So most sharts are not the solid. It's going to be water stool. Constipation or, harder stool is harder to pass. So the rectal sphincter might tighten a bit. But if your stool is loose, then you're not going to necessarily have that tightening. So one, eat foods that help form your stool. You don't want super hard stool, but you want it firm. You also want to have a predictable cycle. Many of us will not necessarily have gas throughout the day if we do our business in the morning. If you have like a cycle where you go to the bathroom in the morning, you're going to be pretty good for most of the day. So if you're starting to notice, wait a second, I usually don't do this and I have gas at 2 p.m., something's up, that could be a sign. It also could be a sign that, you are, maybe coming down with a stomach bug or something because there's a change in your consistency. So eat a balanced diet. There's a lot of foods that give gas. A lot of foods might actually, trigger sometimes you having a pretty quick bowel movement. And then pack extra clothes or wear extra padding. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So yesterday, a study came out saying that some people taking these GLP-1 agonists to lose weight are reporting fewer migraines. Oh, I apologize. My volume's coming up here. For somebody like me that suffers from migraines, boy, I did a double take going, should I be taking Ozempic? I mean, trust me, with the size of my tush, I probably should be, but I'm reluctant because of, the side effects, and eventually it stops working and all the other concerns I have about the medication. But this is interesting. There was a small study where it showed that one of the GLP drugs shrank the number of days people spent with migraine by almost half in a given month. Now, this was presented at the European Academy of Neurology Congress in Helsinki, Finland, on June 21st. And the results suggest promising future uses of these drugs that were originally designed for diabetes. Now, this is being reported by Fox News. Nearly 40 million Americans deal with migraines, according to the Health Organization. And it's not a headache. For those of you that have, never had a migraine, you're very lucky. Because with a migraine, I mean, it is almost impossible to make go away. Those of us have to have a very specific regimen to get the headache to stop. And when it starts, you're in trouble. And if you don't nip it in the bud early on, for me, I use Excedrin migraine, but I don't like to use that a lot because of the aspirin and the caffeine in it. And I just don't like to take pills. But I got to tell you, if I don't nip it in the bud, I could be down for days. It feels like a knife in your head. And then you get fatigue from it, and and I'll try to will it away, and I'll try to think, okay, I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to keep myself entertained. It doesn't matter. It even if it subsides temporarily, it comes back. I've tried cool compresses, warm compresses, shower, sleeping. If I go to bed with a headache or a migraine, and I try and get some sleep, I still wake up with it. I mean, it is such, and we still don't understand why people get them. We thought maybe it has to do with their blood pressure, maybe it has to do with their diet, stress. There's a whole bunch of theories behind it. But unfortunately, for those people that suffer from migraines, it's bad. What limited my migraines was menopause. Once my hormones changed, I noticed I was getting fewer headaches. I could still get them, but not like I used to. And so for me, it was very hormonal. But, for other people, there could be other triggers. And migraines are the second leading cause of disability worldwide. These severe headaches are not the only symptom. Some people get very nauseous. Some people have light sensitivity. Some people feel dizzy. And when you do have a migraine, you don't want to drive. So how do you take the kids to school? You don't want to do things. You just want to lie down and hope it goes away. Sometimes it will go away. I mean, eventually it goes away, but not after days. And people trying to take Tylenol and Motrin and migraine medication. So when you hear that somebody taking these GLP-1 receptor agonists, or something similar to that may have fewer migraines, we all listen. Neurologist and study lead Simone Bracca from the University of Naples Federico II in Italy. Simone and his colleagues looked at liraglutide. Liraglutide is similar to semaglutide and tirzepatide. It's an earlier version of one of these GLP receptor agonists. And they said 31 adults, 26 of them women, got daily injections of the liraglutide for 12 weeks. The participants did all meet the criteria for obesity, and they did continue to take the current migraine medications. And they said at the start of the experiment, participants reported headaches about 20 days out of a month. After 12 weeks of being on the liraglutide, the average number dropped to about 11 days. They said most patients felt better within the first 2 weeks and reported quality of life improved significantly. Now, it's a very small study. And also remember, if the weight loss, in fact, in this study, the weight loss was modest and statistically non-significant, which is why we don't really use the liraglutide like we do the semaglutide or the tirzepatide. But my only concern with this is the caveat, is these medicines wear off or you get a tolerance to them. So we still cannot recommend somebody being on these medications for decades. We're not there yet. Even though the medication has been around for over a decade, for those with diabetes, for people using them for weight loss or migraines, we need to study that more. And so Ozempic and Mounjaro is a newer form of it that seems to be more effective with weight loss for liraglutide. But some people are saying, well, wait a second, this might actually be something that we could look at, even if it's just the liraglutide, the older version, for headaches. Now, again, that was a daily injection. People don't want daily injections. They're barely putting up with the weekly injection. It's so interesting. For years, all I heard was people were scared of needles. And then when COVID came, I won't get blood work done. I won't go to the doctor. I'm scared of needles. I don't want needles. Oh, I don't want to get the shot or the vaccine because I'm scared of needles. And then all of a sudden, Ozempic and Mounjaro comes, and everybody's getting, I thought you were afraid of needles. I thought, what is it? So it's interesting how some people could overcome that. Side effects did include gastrointestinal side effects like nausea, constipation. They said it was mild. Most people did not have to discontinue the medicine in the study. But why would it help headaches? Well, these are chemicals. Whatever we're injecting into our body, whatever we are taking, one, they're a chemical in and of itself. And then number two is they might affect something that we don't realize in our body. And so if, let's say, our sugar intake is causing our migraines, and these medications affect our sugar absorption and our sugar metabolism, that might help. What if these GLP-1s are helping our hormones? You know how some people use diabetic medications like metformin to decrease their insulin resistance and to get their periods on track? So there might be something that affects their hormones with these medications. I'm very humbled by the chemicals and the pharmaceuticals and how there may be other uses for them. One thing that really shocked me in the 90s is how somebody with a viral bronchitis would feel better right away with a Z-Pak, me included. And azithromycin is an antibiotic. I also see people who don't have a UTI say they felt better taking an antibiotic. Their urine comes back clean. They never had a UTI, but they took the antibiotic and felt better right away. So is it that there's an anti-inflammatory component? Is there something to these antibiotics that decrease the discomfort? That decrease the cough? What is it? Antibiotics aren't supposed to do that. They're supposed to be antimicrobials. They're supposed to be affecting the bacterial cell wall or its replication. Yet we're seeing people who don't have bacterial infections note results. Why? Well, it's a chemical that may have something else that we just don't realize. And so when, people call up, say, I have a UTI, and I'm like, well, what was your last urine culture? Well, it was negative, but the antibiotic helped. Well, people do feel better on antibiotic. It's just, is it the safest thing to do? Taking an antibiotic when you don't need it. Because what happens when you really do need it? Is it going to work? Is there going to be resistance? Are you going to build up a tolerance? So, I believe that of the hundreds of thousands of pharmaceuticals we have, that there are multiple other applications. To get the FDA to approve the application, there has to be adequate studies. Because for the FDA to say, look, you could use this for migraines or you could use this for something else, they have to have studies. They have to show safety. They have to look at clinical trials, such as these SSRIs, these selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors that people take for anxiety and depression. I had a patient who was on 4 blood pressure medications, new to me, blood pressure through the roof. For poops and giggles, I decided to treat his anxiety because he had some anxiety, depression. I gave him Zoloft. His blood pressure dropped to normal. Now, is it because I managed his anxiety, or is it because there's something to these selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors that may help? Who knows? We've noticed they seem to help with irritable bowel. Some people report fewer headaches. But for the FDA to approve that, there's going to be a whole new set of studies. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regenerations. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Well, hero dad, what a great dad. Child falls off a Disney cruise, falls overboard. I would have done the same thing. I would have jumped in after my kid. Absolutely. Save that kid's life. And a young girl was only 5 years old, had apparently gone through a ship's porthole. I thought she was sitting on a railing, but they said she slipped through a porthole and then down into the ocean below. She was sailing on the Disney Dream in international waters. Oh, there we go. Yeah, she was sitting on a railing on the fourth floor deck of a ship. Her parents were playing shuffleboard nearby where she was sitting. This was at about 11:30 a.m. on June 29th. Suddenly, she fell backwards through a porthole and down to open waters, according to Broward County, Florida Sheriff's Office. I believe the cruise was going from Florida to the Bahamas. And the girl's 37-year-old father didn't see the fall. But the child's mother screamed, alerted him, and he jumped in. He dove into the water, grabbed his daughter. The two treaded water for about 20 minutes. Remember, there's sharks and hypothermia and other things that they could sadly be facing. But thank God, rescue crews were able to pick them up. It took 20 minutes, though. Officials released the preliminary information because what happened in the media was people started to blame dad. Remember, there was a case where somebody was holding their kid up or something, and then the child fell, or they were playing around with the kid on the railing. So people started to blame the father, that he's the one that was putting her on there or whatever. And immediately the police had to say, no. Father wasn't there. Father was he was close by, but this had nothing to do with the father putting the child on the railing. And the dad is a hero. Huge hero. Now, should they be watching the child more? Yes, they should have, but still, well done. It's interesting. People are like, oh yeah, I would have jumped in. I think the majority of us would have jumped in. If there was a way to jump in, I don't know if you've been on cruise ships. Some of them, they have the promenade deck right below it. If that was the case, you would have fallen on the deck below. The fact that she fell into the water means there wasn't anything on the ship that would have prevented him from being able to jump as well. And because of the current, because of the being taken underwater, because of a child fatiguing, most drowning cases happen in people who know how to swim. It's just they get exhausted and they can't keep themselves above water. Their muscles ache. They just can't do it anymore. So thank God he was physically fit and able to do that, because still 20 minutes is a very long time when people are scared, their heart rate's racing, and he's got to carry and keep the other child afloat. Now, one thing you could do if you don't think they're going to panic is have them, hold on to you. So here's the thing. With kids, it might be a little easier because they're a child. But if you are ever approaching a drowning victim, you approach the drowning victim from behind. Do not go to them face to face, because they may scratch you, jump on you in the panic, use you to survive. And in the thick of it all, they might kill you without realizing what they're doing because they're in a panic trying to survive. So with a drowning victim, you come up from behind them, and or you tell them, I'm going to save you. I'm coming to save you. I need you to turn around, and then come up from behind and hold them. And this way they can't scratch or hurt you. And then you could carry them and keep them to your side. But you have to make sure they can't touch your face. They can't touch your chest, your arms. Unless they're not panicked. If they're not panicked and they're going to work with you, then you could work together. But the problem is, if they panic, they could kill you. So you have to approach them differently. But the ship was sailing. The Disney cruise was sailing between Bahamas and Fort Lauderdale. The ship's captain announced Mr. Pop portside. Mr. Mop portside, which is a signal to the crew on board, alerting them a possible man overboard. That's interesting because it's a children's cruise. They don't want to necessarily say there's a child overboard. They're not. So there's going to be codes. Deck 4 was where the family was when she fell. Fortunately, it was high enough where she could survive the fall. This was less crowded than other decks on the ship, has shuffleboard courts. I don't know how a cruise like that could possibly have those sort of openings. And I mean, kids climb. Even though the railing says no climbing, sadly, this should have never happened. There is a protective barrier, according to the New York Post, in place on the deck. There are divots and spaces, though, however, between the barrier, I don't know if you've seen like these glass barriers where there's a little bit of a metal, and so a child could use that sometimes to climb up. Not sure also why the porthole was open, how the girl slipped into it. So luckily, the rescue crew did their job. Child is okay from what we understand. The father's okay. I know a lot of people were looking at the pictures going, why aren't they in blankets? I think there might have only been one blanket, so the kid got it. But the father, thank God, good for him. But, for those of you, having kids or grandkids, are you in the proper physical shape? I see this all the time. The parents who are, in pretty good shape can sometimes, do a lot more for their children. And a lot of times we let ourselves go. When I went to the gym, it was because, and I ran and I wanted to be a fast runner for my kid. I wanted to, it was all about what I could do for my child to protect him and to be the healthiest parent. You hear of these cases where a grandfather is driving their grandchild. He has a heart attack and the grandchild has to take over the car and take over the drive. Understand that, family members, may not be of the best of health. And what's the backup plan, especially if the kid is alone with grandpa? I taught my kids very early on what to do if I fell to the ground unconscious, or if somebody fell to the ground unconscious. My father had died of a heart attack. And I was like, in case anybody in the family has that, or their nanny, not a nanny, their babysitter or whatever, or grandma drops, what to do. Find the phone. Call 911, be calm about it. And I did drills with them. Now, of course, they were giggling and they were like, let's go into the cookie jar. Mommy's not awake. And they were joking. And I'm yelling at them, pretending to be unconscious, going, I'm going to whoop your little asses. Can you, please do the drill properly? And after they finished giggling, they did it right, where they learned how to find the phone, get the call 911, and you'll properly start CPR. These are things, by the way, all kids should learn CPR. There's ways to teach kids and get them certified. I'm not talking about 3-year-olds, but kids should learn first aid. These are things that they should know. Kids should also learn about drowning and what happened, what to do, how to stay calm. Obviously, this kid stayed calm. Dad was able to find her, because what they panic and the current, the current can take you away meters a second. You don't even realize. And so staying calm, staying still, not splashing around. There's sharks, and the dad, kept her afloat. And good job with the crew. So they were taken to a local hospital after returning to port. They say the father was eventually hospitalized. We don't know what injuries he got, but he did sustain injuries. Now, it could have been from, jumping in the water. He looks okay on the boat, but yeah. So well done, Dad of the year. 1-8, but then again, watch the kids so they don't fall to begin with. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out. All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So a lot of people are mixed on the Bryan Kohberger plea deal, where he doesn't get the death penalty, and he pled guilty to the murders of Madison Mogen, Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Goncalves, and Zana Kernodle. This happened in Moscow, Idaho, back in November 2022, as they were in bed, butchering them with a K-bar knife he had bought months earlier on Amazon. And, seeing him sit there in court and it looks like he trimmed his eyebrows because that's what nailed him. He was wearing a mask and witnesses noticed his eyebrows. And, hearing him plead guilty and admit to the first-degree homicide, it was very, very chilling. And this was a controversial plea bargain because it spared him the death penalty. He will be serving 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. And so many of the victims' families were outraged. They were concerned. Apparently, they said that the prosecution did not necessarily consult with them on this. But, there's some people looking at this going, this might be better for the family. And so after seeing the Karen Reed trial, where, there's an officer who died, her boyfriend, whether she was found innocent or shall we say she was acquitted for his murder. And there were many issues with the prosecution that allowed there to be enough reasonable doubt. So in the eyes of the law, she's cleared of murder of her boyfriend, even her boyfriend police officer, even though there was a lot of evidence alluding to her involvement in that. People were saying that, look, Joshua Ritter, attorney, told Fox and Friends, no trial is guaranteed. Things can go sideways. You never know how things are going to end up. You don't even know if it's a guilty verdict. There's no guarantee that they could come back with a death verdict. And so having him plead guilty, I'm starting to, at first I was a little bit mixed, and now I think it might be good because it's, the family has been going through now for years, the fact that they've lost their loved ones. And to see and go through the appeals and go through the trials, and what if it's a hung jury and there's reasonable doubt, and so they're like, no, I still don't think we can, we can't agree, and then it goes on for years. Well, it's pretty painful. On the other end, if somebody murdered your loved ones, you want them gone. You don't want them coming back and murdering you. You don't want them murdering anybody else. And so, to think that this person can stay alive and possibly have parole is not an easy thing to digest. And so I get why the family is concerned. But I have seen case after case where the art of law is able to protect somebody based on technicalities where, somebody could walk free. And so having him at least admit it, plead, without the, defense trying to, say it's somebody else or, this was, I think it is a win. And so he avoided the death penalty. He's going to jail for a very long time, as he should. But, the life imprisonment is only agreeable to half the victims' families. But it does ensure immediate justice. They say 2 of the families voted right now for closure and applauded and encouraged the prosecutor. The other 2, not happy. But, I, thank God, have never been a part of a trial where I had to see, but having been wronged and things happening to me, or things happening to family members, these court cases really re-traumatize you. And you are hearing people make the suspect and the alleged sound like a hero. You're seeing the defense blame victims. I'm not saying in this particular case with the Idaho students, but where the victims themselves get completely, even if they're dead, get completely vilified in court. You get this picture painted, and I don't know how these families can do it. I would be in the court. I would be I would be standing up going, oh, come on, this is the biggest bunch of, I would probably get kicked out of court time and time again. But, so I think it's a good deal. I think it's, this guy needs to go away. I mean, he should have gotten the death penalty, but because now things are so different in terms of, how, just enough reasonable doubt, which by the way, protects, innocent people who are innocent, alleged, but or accused. At least we know he's going to jail. We have some breaking news. Kill Bill and Reservoir Dogs icon Michael Madsen has died at the age of 67. He was at his California Malibu home. Pronounced dead, he was found unresponsive. We believe he might have died from cardiac arrest. A statement from the star's representative said in the last 2 years, Michael Madsen has been doing some incredible work with independent film, including upcoming feature films, Resurrection Road, Concessions and Cookbook for Southern Housewives, and was really looking forward to this next chapter in his life. He was also preparing a new book. It's kind of interesting how they're, kind of promoting his works. But great actor. He was in Kill Bill, Reservoir Dogs. He was in multiple different movies. Usually plays a bad guy, and he's or a cop. And I was a fan of his. Sadly, though, he was also in The Hateful Eight. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quentin Tarantino worked a lot with him, and sadly, he has passed. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. An icon in Star Wars has also passed. There is an actor who we remember was, I believe, one of the top lieutenants that I think got the job because Darth Vader killed somebody else. And then he himself, spoiler alert, I think it was in The Empire Strikes Back. I'm trying to think what movie he was in, but it's actor Keith Colley. Now he was 87 years old when he passed, but in the movies, it looks like he was in his early 30s. Yes, he was in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. We're being told he did pass away peacefully, but he died of COVID. He was admitted to the hospital with an injured arm after a fall. Then he contracted COVID. The COVID turned into pneumonia, and his friends were by his side when he passed. And he was a good actor. I thought he did a fantastic job. He also played in multiple other films. But and he was from Lancashire. But COVID, sadly, is still a culprit as it pertains to people dying of respiratory disease. So I'm sorry to see this happen, especially in the dead of summer. But actor Kenneth Coley dead at 87. Don't go away. We'll be right back. 1-877-DOC-DALI.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years, stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.